The GOP is looking to cut foreign aid to 2008 levels as part of its fiscally conservative platform. This has my freedom fighters wondering if Republicans even deserve a pat on the back for this move when foreign aid makes up less than 1% of the federal budget. Here to discuss are Countdown to Closing Bell anchor, my friend and colleague, Liz Clayman, Reason Magazine associate editor Peter Suderman, and radio host and Freedom Watch regular Nancy Skinner. Nancy, to you first. What do we gain by giving away billions in foreign aid? Aren't we just sort of buying people off and paying them for their friendship?
Oh, there's something to be said for buying people off, Judge. Look at, you know, as opposed to fighting them, you know? Look, it is a tiny fraction, and it's like canceling your gym membership and eating fast foods, but you're going to pay for the major surgery, because the alternative is war. And I think the Middle East is a case in point right now with Egypt and the aid there. The reason is we have diplomatic relations. We have intelligence agencies that act through State Department. That's no big secret.
Right.
So our eyes and ears are on the ground. And to be able to prevent these things is far better. Prevention is far worse than going to war, which was a $2 trillion exercise. I mean, this is a tiny fraction, and it's a dangerous world, and we need to be preventing the wars. And that's what this foreign aid and State Department aid does.
Do you accept that $33 billion a year in tax dollars can go to foreign despots? Or, stated differently, does it make sense for the Republicans to say we're going to cut this when it's so minuscule that it's almost immeasurable compared to a $4 trillion budget?
Judge, stop with the rounding errors. You know, every time somebody proposes some type of cut, they say that's just a rounding error. We have to start somewhere. 33 billion's a rounding error? Look, it's reasonable. My dad used to always say, do what is reasonable. And going back to 2008 levels might very well be. However, you don't summarily just cut off aid, but you do look at where it's going. Do you really want to give it to Hamas and what's running?
Was the $30 billion that we have given to Mubarak worth it?
Look, when you buy your friends, you get what you pay for. And so that's what we've been doing here. And in the short term, Egypt has helped us advance our interests in the Middle East. But in the long term, it's created a huge diplomatic problem for us. Because right now, we're funding Mubarak, and we've bought the weapons that he has out on the streets pointed at protesters. If the protesters, with Mubarak out here, if the protesters take over, depending on who's next, that's going to be a real diplomatic problem for us in the long run.
Very interesting argument, Nancy. I want you to address that. Might we actually be making matters worse if we can't control what the countries to whom we give foreign aid do with the foreign aid? They don't give it away as welfare. They enrich their leadership, and they buy military hardware with it, right?
Well, you know, that's the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us of. Yeah, we do have to be careful that it just doesn't fall into corrupt hands. A lot of the aid that went to Iraq was lost. Absolutely. I'm not about wasting money, but, you know, we have nuclear-armed Pakistan and India. And if this money is spent to, as I think we did, to westernize these countries and open them up to the Internet and all the mobile technology, then that is invading them with communication waves, and free information is the most powerful thing we can do. The military budget was $700 billion, and we're talking about $30 billion to prevent and have diplomatic relations. I think that's a bargain.
Okay, you're an inside the Beltway guy. Can Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, can Speaker John Boehner, the leader of the Republicans in the House, with a straight face claim that they're saving money with this rounding error? You know, we're going to cut $33 billion down to 15. Big deal. There needs to be cuts.
It's not going to solve our deficit problem, but you have to start somewhere. The less foreign aid, the better. Billions of dollars. It's still enough that it matters.
All right. Do Democrats take this seriously, or do they mock the Republicans?
Well, I'm not sure they do. I mean, Bill Clinton spent more floating Egypt and some of the other countries in the Middle East than Herbert Walker Bush or George W. It's just that you look at each president, and it tends to increase in certain countries. And this is the issue. You don't want another Imelda Marcos closet. And if it means that you cut back everybody a little bit, that's okay.
All right, switching gears. Oil prices have surged since the crisis in Egypt erupted. Meanwhile, the stock market had a terrific rally today, closing over 12,000. Why the disconnect, Ms. Clayman?
Well, I think people are getting used to it. Plus, the economy has stabilized just a bit. People's 401ks have come back. Their pensions have floated just a little bit better. And so they are comfortable paying a bit more. The question will be, what if we get to above $4 a gallon? That may be a huge problem, but it's not going to derail the economy.
Should we, Nancy Skinner, be worried about the price of oil? because if Saudi Arabian oil can't go through the Suez Canal, it'll end up, if you do the math, with gasoline being $5 or $6 a gallon?
In the short term, no. I mean, because they want the money. So everybody's that's in their interest. But the big elephant in the room, Judge, is that this is our biggest long-term crisis, because Saudi Arabia doesn't have the oil to fuel this exploding developing world. We only have 3% of proven oil reserves. Climate change, the Pentagon, and everybody else is saying it's the biggest threat because this is causing food prices to rise. This is causing
what is causing food prices to rise? The riots in Egypt or the fact that oil's going up? What are you saying?
No, I'm saying that these extreme weather events, that the depression, all these things, the storm we're getting plowed with, how much are we going to pay for all over the world? It's going to cause
Tell the people in
disruption.
Chicago you're worried about global warming. There are 3 feet of snow there tonight.
Well, that is a manifestation of extreme weather, oceans heat. It evaporates, more snow falls. I learned that in second grade. I don't even know why this is an issue. Evaporation.
Okay, got it. She's got to go through 3 feet of snow to get home. She's in Detroit. Are you worried about the price of oil and what will happen to the Suez Canal? Or will whoever takes over the government in Egypt want to make the money that comes from operating this natural gift that the Egyptian government owns?
I think there's certainly some anxiety right now. However, if you look at the reports that have come out today, there's no indication that there's actually less oil coming out, that there's any real structural threat to oil production in the Middle East right now. My guess is that that is going to continue to be the case. Whoever's going to be there is going to want to make money off of it. There's a lot of money to be had.
Would the American government be giving foreign aid, back to our other subject, to Egypt, so that they keep the Suez Canal open? Or does the profit motive keep the Suez Canal open?
It's a little bit of both, but you look at America, if oil goes up $1, that's $12 million a day that comes out of Americans' pockets in discretionary spending. Yes, the government is going to push for this. They want to keep the Suez Canal open, but more importantly, stability in the region. And sometimes that's how governments look at this and say that's what foreign aid does. It stabilizes regions. However, we didn't see that with some countries, and certainly in Lebanon, giving a lot of foreign aid. That's why I brought up Hamas earlier. Right. You open it to so-called democratic votes, look what happens.
Right. Will Mubarak be gone by the end of the week, yes or no?
I don't think we know yet. He said he's going to step down, but at the end of the week, that's not long from now.
Mubarak gone by the end of the week, yes or no, Skinner, before you start plowing your way out of Detroit?
By the end of the week, no.
All right.
But before the elections, yes.
This guy's not going anywhere for a while. No.
Thank you, guys. Liz Clayman, Peter Suderman, Nancy Skinner. It's a pleasure. Up next.